Atmos, is it snake oil?
We've got another one for you with Warren David. If you don't know who he is at this point, you haven't seen the other videos, go watch those videos. They're pretty good. This dude has worked on so much of the stuff that you've probably heard on the radio, seen in movies. His accolades go pretty deep. Above and beyond that, Warren is possibly one of the most humble and just cool guys to hang out with. This video is after spending 2 days with him, seeing his workflow, and we just wanted to kind of sit down and talk. We got into a lot of very personal things. We got into a lot of business things. We got into the motives behind what had him create this template that he works with and now that I've been working with for quite some time. If you want more information on that, I'll put a link to his website down below. So Warren is just genuinely one of those guys who, whatever knowledge he has and whatever opportunity someone else has given him, he's more than willing to explain what that was, just for the sake of sharing knowledge. And that's what I love. That's something that I relate to, and it's refreshing to see it from somebody that I really look up to in the industry, because not everyone is like that. Again, if you want to check out more of Warren's stuff, I will leave a link in the description below to his shop where he sells his templates, he sells his documents. I don't get any kind of a kickback, it's just him. And by the way, there is no sponsor for a video like this, so if you like stuff like this, if you like learning from people like this in the industry and you want to see more of it, hit the like button. Comment down below who you would want us to go talk to. Hit the subscribe button. It helps way more than you think it does. And without any further ado, let's get right into it. Whoosh. Let's talk business, because that's where I'm curious.
Yeah.
So we just spent effectively 2 days with you, watching this whole process, seeing Atmos as somebody who works in the industry, but I also see this side of it, and it's kind of like a mystery. So having sat in the room, I love it. I love the art direction. I love the potential expression as the inner artist and producer comes out, and the possibilities of the art form itself. Pushing that aside for a second, I'm really curious about the business, and you can be as vague as you want, because obviously I don't want to get into personal boundaries here. From an investment standpoint, Atmos is a lot. How do you see that playing out? Is now a good time to get in? Is it a bad time? Did I miss the boat? Are other people missing the boat? Is there business out there, all other things being equal, being good at customer service, putting out good mixes?
Well, I'll start by saying this about Atmos, and I think I might have said this with you a year and a half ago, which is Atmos may be around, it may not be. I'm just here to serve the need for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to decide whether or not it's sustainable, a good format, the most wonderful creative thing that I'm all in the world for. That's not my mindset. My mindset is, this is a need within my circles, so I am here to serve the need. And that's kind of always been what I do, is solve problems and serve the needs. And that just happens to be mixing. That was assisting for somebody, serving that need, moving that, evolving into stereo mixing. Atmos kind of came along. And yeah, there was first wave Atmos with Steve Jenowick and other people back 2012 and up to about 2019 or 20 when Apple started announcing they were going to do spatial.
Mm-hmm.
That was second wave Atmos. This 3 years later, it feels like third wave Atmos, where, okay, it's been around, it's been released to the public for about 3 years. People have learned what to do, what not to do, what they like or don't like. And now people who were just mixing Atmos because they were helping to serve the need. There's a lot of mix guys who are like, hey, I think I want to be the one to finish out my mix in Atmos. So there's a lot of guys expanding into it. The answer, should someone get into Atmos, it really depends on where you are, the circles you run in, the goals you have. If you just want to create an Atmos, go fly with the wind, dude. It's there. It's a easy, low bar in headphones. You can get started and figure it out. You can throw together an iLoud system for somewhere between $2,500 and, depending on your interface, maybe up to $8,000. That's like a small buy-in for iLouds and whatever. But then you can scale it up from there. And the bar of entry has lowered a lot from where it was 3 years ago in terms of configuration, gear, a bunch of companies getting on board to, it was a bit of a Rube Goldberg process. People were using pitch and catch computers and HDX on this system, that system. And now it's like all in one computer, renderer built into Pro Tools, buy your speakers, have 16 outs, go. And of course, tune it. That's important. Don't just connect the things and hope that it's going to sound good. Translation is important. So the delays between your speakers, the tuning of the speaker, the curve, that is important for translation. But all that to say, if you just want to create an Atmos, that's awesome. That's a great avenue to run in. If you want to serve people in needs, you need to assess who you're already serving. Is it a need among your community? And do you think you're going to get work from it? Are you turning down work because people are asking, hey, can you also do this Atmos thing? And you've got to go, nope, sorry, I haven't gotten into it yet. A lot of people may be fine not doing Atmos. The big thing now is Apple is pushing it. They are championing people who put their mix into Atmos, whether it be a playlist or more distribution on the back end. Labels want it. Artists and producers don't really want it right now. Like, they're being strong-armed. But if there's a need, you can get in and serve the need. So you have to assess, am I turning down work enough to where it justifies it? If I do get into this, can I position myself to get more work from either circles I know, or can I reach out to people and say, hey, I do this now? And they're like, cool, here's 3, 5, whatever mixes. Or you kind of want to be a weekend warrior, like dip your toes in. Like the interesting thing about Atmos is all the gear is liquidatable. Like, sure, you might take a little depreciation on it, but dude, if you buy it used, you're already kind of at the target of the gear. If it doesn't work out, sell the speakers one at a time. Sell the interface. Like, you're kind of back to zero, except for the time you just put into it.
The appealing part for me is like, I just want to get in and start creating. Like, I feel that hard. The weird part, there's not a whole lot, at least where I'm at. And actually, Steven, this is a question for you too.
Right.
I mean, every once in a while, there's like, hey, can you provide Atmos? And that conversation goes away pretty quick. But for independent artists, I mean, it's not really part of the conversation because it's not really part of the nomenclature, I guess, at this point. Is there any value in that side of it? Like, if you just want to get in, start creating, is there any value for artists or to have it as opposed to
that's like asking an artist, is there value in a music video? Because, like, technically, no, your music is your music without the music video. But if you want to express yourself in pairing your song with a video, that's a new avenue for somebody to consume it. And so Atmos, even though it's being pushed and there's a motive on the marketing side for Atmos, there can be a motive on the creative side if the budget fits, if the song makes sense for it. And I think it's becoming easier and easier to do it within budgets, within a good time frame, and make it sound good. Like, I think a lot of people's apprehension is the hurdle of getting the gear, but also the unknowns of how to make it sound good. Because, like, it is daunting. I feel like it has taken me 2 to 3 years in the process to be like, oh yeah, I'm very confident now at this level, and 800 songs in, even still, I'm like, is this going to be a good Atmos mix? I don't know. Like, but in the end, I'm serving a need.
And it is. I can't imagine like doing what you did, because I'm looking at it like, I mean, even Atmos kind of being out, being able to consume it at least a little bit on the consumer standpoint. But you got in pretty early, and like there were a handful of guys where I was like, how do you even make this decision? Like, well, daunting is a word. And that's
for
horrifying.
Sure. For sure, in Nashville, I only, like, the Dolby certified list there were about 4 studios in Nashville. Blackbird, Rob Burrell, the UMG guys had just kind of started putting in a room, and Axis Audio, which is Andrew Masters, did a video with them. And that's kind of how I saw their thing, Atmos. And I was like, is anyone putting music in Atmos? And then Apple announced the news. And I was like, I think I need to jump on board for the sake of the circles I run in. And sure enough, like while I'm installing, labels are hitting me up like, hey, we're going to need this project. So I had a bunch lined up. So I had to hit the ground running, like learn on the fly. And like, that's scary. Like it's the high risk, high reward in that situation. And, or giant pitfall. Yeah. Not high reward, but like, it could be terrible, crash and burn. And at the time when it released, probably in the early spring or summer, you couldn't listen through your computer. Like I had to buy an Apple TV through an AV receiver to play back the limited number of songs that were in Atmos. Like the one spatial playlist.
Just to kind of see what everybody else was doing.
And of course, there were a lot of people listening to that spatial playlist in headphones and being like, these songs are good. Those are bad. This is good. This bad. And they were making those decisions. And yeah,
I guess this is turning into like more of a like philosophical discussion rather than business, but that's fine with me. And not by your direction.
I think Carl Jung said that.
That was a good Jordan Peterson.
Bloody well, thank you. I think what you saw the benefit of there is lots of trial and error building a lattice work architecture to where there's not as many unknowns or variables. It's kind of like it's a set world, and because it's a set world, you can move pretty quick through it. Like I have things set up in the session to run really smoothly and to kind of already be there. And that was a lot of tweaking and evolutions. There were probably a year and a half in Atmos before I even combined my stereo and Atmos mix process. And so it was a lot of like dreaming up, like, would this work? Would that work? And so in putting out videos about that, hopefully it helps people kind of already make that connection and they can skip the trial and error process. But like Edison, he didn't fail at making a light bulb. He found 99 ways not to make a light bulb. He just needed that one time to make it work. And I think that's a lot of that with Atmos. You can find 99 ways not to do it. And then those things that work, you just store that away.
Or in a way, like we just watched your process. Are you really Nikola Tesla? And we're Edison taking your ideas.
Maybe. I'm smoking that conspiracy pyramid. You know what I mean? Energy's all around us, man. It's free.
Confirmed. Illuminati
You can send it across the world, man.
I had a question. So I can see the pushback, and just to play devil's advocate here for a second, because I know the answer in my head and I can hear it. If somebody's like, okay, you've templatized this, you're putting everybody in a box. How is this actually serving your customer?
Well, it's not necessarily putting them in a box. It's bringing them into my gym. All the equipment's there. All the stuff is there. And the song is what change. The ingredients change, but like the space in which I operate doesn't. So there's less variables, and because I'm not pushing an Atmos mix through like a square peg through a round hole. I'm setting up an architecture so that when I need to adjust something, it's there at the ready. The problem that I was trying to solve was, we're so used to a 2-bus, but you can't do that in Atmos. And my thought was like, why? Like, we can try to figure this out. Find a way to filter and funnel your tracks into processing before you split it out for your Atmos panning locations. Problem solved. And so the template evolved from, well, this is just how we have to do it, and I'm not willing to accept that. I'm the person that's like, well, let's figure out a better way to do this. Let's find out it more efficient, easier, smoother, whatever adjective you want to use.
And that's one of the things I appreciate about watching you work is, and there's a balance of this, and I struggle to find it in my own work, but the balance of efficiency to like end result. And sometimes I find it really easy to go like hyper into systems, which I'm finding is nothing close to what you do. But I try to simplify things way too much and move too quick. What I see you do that kind of opened my eyes was like you have everything ready, like everything's there, but you're not limiting any options to yourself. And anything that you want to do, the whole thing is flexible and fluid in a way. It was really interesting, and that was kind of eye-opening for me, even in my own workflow. Atmos aside, I'm like, there's interesting takeaways from how you approach the work and the efficiency, and then balancing that with customer service is a really interesting aspect to the whole thing too, because it's not about like, hey, let me pump this out really, really quick. It's what can I get out of the way so that I can work really well, really quick. Because I mean, so many mixers will relate to the fact that like a lot of times your gut reaction is the right reaction. And if you go too far down those holes or you start listening to one thing and EQ, like you can really just mess something up to the point where you can't get back to it.
The more you mess with something, the more it sounds messed with.
Yeah, exactly. But what I've took away from watching you is like you've just built this thing to let you work really quick, and all the tools are there really fast, which lets you serve a whole lot more people.
Well, and most of that architecture is that way to save me repeated steps, like per song, per project. Whatever thing was repeated, or I found myself making a track for this, or like the stem example. The reason those existed is because we used to do it with summing. Like, okay, we branched out these instrument groups through summing, and then it went to a 2-bus, and then labels started asking for stems. So I was like, could we insert a bit of a catch in here so that it comes in, we catch it in auxes, then it goes out to summing, does the same thing we used to do, but now we have an area to just make stems real quick. Like, it's like a piano. I'm not going to explain this well. There is a Mark Rober video online of him talking about the complex simplicity of a piano and how, like, you know, a Glock, one hit, like if you leave it on there, you hear it, but it's dull. So there needs to be a hit and a release. So the order of mechanics is hit and release. Okay, how do we turn that into an L instead of a, you know, basically just watch the video about how you're adding complexity to a mechanism, but keeping it as simple as possible. There's nothing in there that's redundant or overused, but this is exactly the chain and flow it needs to be to do the thing. And so that's what I do in multiple repeated steps. You know, you look at a piano inside and you're like, that's complicated, but or a console. You're like, there's a lot of knobs, but it's one channel duplicated a bunch. They all kind of do the same. And then there's sections that all manage different things so you just have to break it down in your head. And it's like, what do I do most often? Incorporate that into a template. Then you can depart from it if you want. You can do something else, but the repeated steps are always the same.
And for those watching and you're like, well, this is crazy, this would be irrelevant in 3 months. It might be. You just said 3 months ago it had kind of changed, but that's the whole idea behind it. The hard steps are done. If you find something else that works, this is a moving, changing thing that can go with your workflow on a very individualistic basis.
Well, yeah. The guys who decided to stay on a console and mix on a console are not idiots. They're also not dinosaurs.
Right.
That they've just developed a workflow that they enjoy and create music in, and they've decided the time to spend on that is worth whatever trouble it is. And then there's guys who are like, I'm going to do it on a laptop. That's fine. Like, both are valid. And in the same way with Atmos, man, if you just want to pop all your stems, like you want to do a stereo mix, create stems, pop it in a session, arm a bunch of objects, pan, and be done. Like, cool. That's fine. What evolves from there is, okay, if that's how you're doing it, are you checking it against the master? So if so, how do you set up your session to toggle that? All right, if you're checking against the master, do you need to adjust anything? How do you adjust all your tracks at once? Insert blank. Like, you still build a structure from there. And at some point you might go, structure's done. Like, I've achieved my goal. That's fine. Like, there's lots of guys who have done that. I like the idea of multing the two sessions at once, and it could change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a really cool workflow. And if nothing else, just learning how to think about it was a huge value for me. So,
yeah.
Thank you for letting me watch that.
Yeah, man.
Well done. We find ourselves at the end once again together. If you liked that, maybe you'll want to go see Warren mix the whole song in stereo and Atmos. And for that, we got one, just a tasty one right down here for you. Why don't you go ahead and click that. We'll see you later.